My name is Jason Vanderberghe. I'm the creative director on For Honor.
So Jason, tell us what you're doing new here with For Honor.
So here we're finally revealing the full roster of heroes. We have 12 heroes to play, 4 for each faction in the game. That's our full kit. And we're also revealing the full suite of modes for multiplayer. We have our in addition to the Dominion mode that we've had there, we have our 1v1 duels. We have our 2v2 dueling as well, which is super awesome. We have a skirmish mode, which is sort of a team deathmatch experience. And then we have our elimination, which is a sort of a team last man standing. So we're showing all 5 multiplayer modes, all 12 unit types, and we're also talking about the progression system and all the gear and all that. So we got a lot to show.
Do you have a favorite faction and class in the game, and why?
Oh boy! So I have always been a knight at heart. I learned at E3 that when I announced the game that I look like a Viking, which was I suppose I should have seen that coming. But so I learned to say Viking on the outside, knight on the inside, and I play the warden character, that sort of core longsword character. I always play the female one because that's great. It may seem like the boring choice in some ways, right? Because it's like, oh, that's the sort of the default character. This is the character that I wanted to make this game to play. Like making this game was because I wanted to fight with the longsword against all the other types. So and now that it's in there, I love it.
Out on the floor, I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh, I threw that out, or I'm going to get punished, or I read that wrong. Those are usually terms you hear in competitive fighting games like Street Fighter and stuff. How do you feel For Honor will open up the esports environment?
Well, so esports is a tricky space, right? I really deeply believe that it's not up to the developer to decide whether or not your game is an esports. That's really something that happens in the audience, right? I see a lot of potential, and I'm excited that the people who've been playing it have see that same potential. But really, we're going to get the game out. We're 100% focused on getting this thing shipped and in the players' hands, and then we're going to see, right? But I mean, if you want to watch your friends beating each other up with their weapons, I think it sounds like a lot of fun to me. But it's really something that I think that we should see from the audience response. The game is ready for that, right? We're building the game to be fair and all that stuff, but it's not the focus for the release.
There's such a rich history between all your factions with knights, medieval, Vikings, and samurai. Did your team go back and look at any movies like First Knight or this show Vikings or The Last Samurai and pull any inspiration from that when making your game?
Well, I mean, I've been watching all of those films for my entire life, so it's like I would pull out my reference library and bring it to work. Right? It's more like that. And yeah, we always look at those. There are these big sort of tentpole films that like the 300s and the Bravehearts, and last night was a lot of fun. That's a new one, right? Vikings, the TV series, is a great example. There's always, and I think it just speaks to the enthusiasm that our culture has right now, especially right now, about this topic. It's super cool to be part of what I think is kind of a renaissance of interest in this topic, right? And certainly a renaissance in interest in beating each other up with weapons, right? I love that. So we definitely feel like we're going for that big battlefield fantasy, right? And we look at the great films that have done that and the great games that have done that as well. But at the heart of our game is this new type of fighting that it really puts the skill in your hands. And so we feel like the uniqueness of our offer inside that bigger battlefield is pretty. I hope it's pretty compelling.
So you guys have 12 classes and 3 factions. So each faction plays slightly differently, and each class plays uniquely to its own. How do you go about balancing what's too fast, what's too slow, what hits too hard, what doesn't hit hard enough? Playtest, man. We've been playing all these classes for quite a while, so we have a lot of data on the inside, right? And then of course, that's just a good start, right? So we've just completed our second alpha, right? So we're collecting data about how players play, right, and what they're doing. So we're just going to keep going as we do that. We have a solid theory underneath about how these characters should play together and how they fit, right? You sort of start there, and then you go and you give it to the audience, and then they're like, nope, that's wrong, right? I think we have to rethink everything, right? That's just how balance works. So we're going to keep doing that process of iteration as we go forward, and all the way through, past launch. Now you guys have 4-on-4 battles, and those can get really intense because you'll be fighting one-on-one. All of a sudden, someone hits you in the back. Now the game is called For Honor, so where's the honor?
Well, so it turns out that the when you're playing in Dominion mode, the amount of points that you get for the kill depends on how you accomplish that kill. And so if you go ahead and backstab somebody, you'll get points for it, right? But you won't get as many as you do if you manage to pull it off on 1v1. With a lot of subtleties around there, right? So the honor is there. But of course, if your definition of honor
is, is a little bit more, shall we say, roguish, right? Hey, I'm not here to judge, man. It's really about getting your inner warrior on that battlefield and letting you have a good time, right?
So there is a gear system. Can you customize the way your fighter looks? Obviously, you can't change the weapons, but can you change, the helmet, the way the shield looks, the way the mace looks?
Yes, we have a ton of combinations and customizations. We have helmet, shoulder, body types, and then our weapons are broken up into hilt and guard and blade, and like we have all of this different gear that's available. That gear also comes with stat variations, so that you can sort of shift your character's style of play a little bit if you want to make them a little bit faster, a little bit slower, right? But it's more about trade-offs, right, for us in the multiplayer side, right? So you have a lot of control and customization, like you say. You don't change the weapon that your character is wielding. That's not how it works, but you can customize and tweak and sort of tune so that you can fight the way that you want to. We also have a feat system as well. So each character has 4 feat slots that you unlock all these different feats for each character, and you choose which ones you come into play, and you gradually unlock those as you play through the mission. So those feats are things like the catapult strikes or these different abilities that you have, and that really also lets you customize your character to play the way you want to play.
I haven't seen a game like this in a long time, especially one game comes to mind, Bushido Blade on the PlayStation, where it was a one-on-one, not necessarily fighter, but not necessarily another one. Did you take any inspiration from games like that?
So Bushido Blade, the original PlayStation disc of Bushido Blade is on my mantle at home. It's a place of honor, right? It is a marvelous game, and it's incredibly difficult. It was a very punishing game, right? But it had that. When I picked up the controller, I felt like I was in a duel. It had that sense of danger and lethality, right? And so it's absolutely a strong memory for me in the past. And what we wanted to do here was sort of capture that feeling of emotion and tension, and we're fighting, right? But really open it up so that anyone with a sword fighting fantasy can play. Give you all different kinds of modes, right? So that we're not just targeting one type of player. We're really making a game for everybody as much as we can.
How long does a typical one-on-one battle last in your game?
One life.
Well, like I fight you one-on-one, yeah.
It's about 30 seconds, something like that. Yeah, maybe 20, 30 seconds. Depends on who's good and who's bad, right? You can go a little bit longer if you're good at avoiding or dodging, or if you're skilled. But it's pretty quick. And that number is we wanted you to feel that sense of lethality, but for you to have a chance to recover if you make a mistake, right? And catch that balance, right? The other piece is we wanted to be sure that if you're playing in 4v4, right, and you have teams, and we get locked up into a duel, right? We wanted, like, a lot of the time that duel should be over before your friends show up to help, right? It should be skilled play, right? So there was a fine balance there, and for us it was about between 20 and 40 seconds.
And how have advances in technology such as the NVIDIA 1080 helped you as a game designer with improving your game and adding more things to it?
So this game would not be possible on previous generations for a bunch of different reasons. First, you see, I'm pretty... I'm stunned by the graphics, actually. The graphics we have on the way that the game looks is amazing to me. And the amount of soldiers we have on the field, right? We run with 100 or more active AI on the field during our multiplayer matches, and 8 active players. We're just doing a huge amount of work. All of that on these fully activated third-person characters with this very detailed animation system, right? We're carrying a huge load in this game, right? And it just wouldn't have been possible without the new advanced cards and the new rendering techniques and just the way that this stuff works. So.
And when does For Honor come out?
For Honor is coming out on February 14th, 2017. It's Valentine's Day, so set the date. It's gonna be great, and it's coming out on the Xbox One, PS4, and on PC.